transported to a strange planet by a force from beyond the universe. The mightiest superheroes and supervillains of all have been gathered to fight the ultimate war. After many epic battles, in a final, savage conflict, the villainous forces of Doctor Doom were utterly defeated and have been imprisoned by the superheroes under command of Captain America. Now, however, a still greater test awaits those heroes and their tenuous allies, the X-Men and Magneto. For the mighty Galactus, devourer of worlds, threatens to destroy the entire battle world and all upon it. Stan Lee presents Marvel Superhero Secret Wars, Assault on Galactus. In a rustic alien village, the X-Man called Colossus, still recovering from wounds received in an early battle, witnesses the beginning of the end. Colossus says, Lenin's beard, Galactus has begun to devour the planet. I am not afraid, except for Zaji. If the end must come, let it come now, while she lies in coma-like sleep. Zaji, I did not truly know beauty, nobility, and selfless compassion until I met you. Is it just that your healing touch, your very life energy flowing into my body, laid bare the depths of my soul to you? No, I cannot believe that. Even when first I saw you, somehow I knew that you were the one in all the universe I could truly love. And yet, you love another. Strange, but it does not matter. I want nothing in return for my love. It is not some commodity to be bartered. I care only that you are well and happy. If it must be with another, I am content. I go to fight for your life above all, beloved Zaji. And let him who would threaten it, even Galactus himself, beware. Energy crackles around his mutant body, and his flesh becomes supple, living steel, and Colossus strides toward his destiny. Meanwhile, high above Galactus's mountain, borne aloft upon tornado-force winds, Storm, the X-Men's mutant mistress of weather soars. Menacing storm clouds gather at her silent bidding, and at her command their fury hammers down. Wolverine says, unbelievable, he's still standing. Magneto says, moreover, Wolverine, you seem not to notice. If we cannot so much as gain his attention. Professor X says, silence, Magneto, I swore to Captain America that we would hold out against Galactus until his return, and we shall. We must. Henceforth, we are in combat communications mode. I will give all orders telepathically. You must obey instantly. Professor X telepathically commands his X-Men. Professor X says, Rogue, take to the air and attack at once. Nightcrawler, Cyclops, follow up Rogue's offensive. Cyclops thought, I've never seen Professor X this intense before. It's because he knows this is suicide. And I'll bet he knew all along that it would come down to this. That's why he seemed colder, harder, more authoritarian from the moment we got here. He'd mellowed out so much in the last couple years. It was sort of a shock, but it makes sense now. It must be hard to send your children to their deaths. Something has appeared out of thin air near the machine, possibly a defensive drone. Rogue went straight towards Galactus's defensive drone. Storm says, Rogue, be careful. Rogue says, I reckon I am ready for anything, Storm. If it's dangerous, I'd best take it on first. I am hard to hurt. The drone put up a shield in front of Rogue, and she slammed into it and fell. Storm says, Rogue. Storm caught Rogue before she fell on the ground. Storm says, got you. Magneto and Cyclops both attack that drone but get blocked. Magneto says, the merest toy of Galactus blunts our offensive. Cyclops says, keep hammering at it. Magneto. Drone shoots Professor X, but he manages to escape. Nightcrawler says, Professor. Professor X says, do not concern yourself with me. Attack. Wolverine says, he'll live. Scrag that thing. Nightcrawler teleported himself on top of the drone. Nightcrawler says, I have reached this cosmic fly swatter. Cyclops says, Nightcrawler, no, it's too dangerous. Teleport your butt back down here. Wow. Nightcrawler says, not before I disable its sensors. Drone shoots away Nightcrawler from it. Wolverine says, all right, Charlie. He bought us a chance, maybe with his life. Now what? Professor X says, Magneto, stand ready. Cyclops, full force optic blast, on my command, strike. And at that instant, in the village where Hawkeye, the Wasp, and Captain Marvel wait. They watch from below as they saw an explosion on the mountain. Hawkeye says, "Holy, that was like a baby nuke. I wonder what happened?" Captain Marvel says, "I don't know. But if that was the X-Men up there, they're dead for sure." Wasp says, "Should we head up there now?" Hawkeye says, "No, we'd better wait for Cap and strike as a unit." Meanwhile, at the fortress once called Doom Base, recently conquered by Captain America's forces, all the heroes run toward the ship. Mr. Fantastic says, "Hurry. No telling how long the X-Men can hold out." Spider-Man says, "Yeah, where's the rest of the alphabet when you need it?" The Thing says, "Never mind that. Where are Captain Marvel and Hawkeye?" Hulk says, "They went back to the village earlier to bring the Wasp's body here for a decent burial." Iron Man says, "I hope they have the good sense not to attack Galactus before we arrive." Thor says, "Hulk, my friend, are you unwell? 'Twould seem the gloom of Niflheim hangs in the air about you." Hulk says, "I've had better days." Thor says, "If 'tis that you do not fit in these chairs that depresses you, count yourself fortunate. They were made, I think, for insect men or by trolls for torture. If 'tis the impending battle troubling thee, just think, what greater chance for glory has man or God e'er known? More even than Ragnarok. This is the battle I was born millennia ago to fight. You, too, are a warrior born, Hulk. A taste of battle, and the berserker battle lust shall rise in thy soul." Hulk says, "I doubt it. I lost that when I gained intelligence of my human side, Bruce Banner. And now I'm slowly losing that, too. I'm not savage enough, or smart enough to be a relevant factor." Human Torch says, "I don't know what everybody's worried about. How could we lose? I'm here." The Thing says, "Do me a favor, Torch." "Shut up. Here we are heading for the big rumble for all the marbles, and I ain't the Thing. I'm useless. I feel like I'm letting everybody down, not to mention the whole blamed universe." Human Torch says, "Cheer up. At least you're better looking as Ben Grimm." "Well, a little. Anyway, come on. Smile, or I'll give you a hot foot on the seat of your panties." The Thing says, "Beat it, brat. On Earth, I can't change back to human at all. Why do I have to do it here where I'm needed most as a thing? And if I can change back and forth, why can't I control it? Like the Torch? Why?" Ben Grimm transformed to the Thing again. The Thing says, "Hey, I'm the Thing again. Whoopee, I'm the Thing again. I'm so happy I even like you." Thing happily picks up Human Torch in his arms. Human Torch says, "Yow, you lummox, put me down. Jeez." I can see the headlines dash, "Affectionate hug slays Human Torch en route to battle. Universe destroyed as a result." Iron Man thought, the new broad. Spider-Woman, she calls herself. She sure is weird. She's awful quiet. Does a lot of staring at folks. And never cracks a smile. She turned up out of nowhere. Claims she's on our side, but maybe I'll just keep an eye on her. Besides, she's got great legs. We got one thing in common. We're both strangers here. A lot of guys have worked with Iron Man before. But that was when Tony Stark was in this suit. I think they've started to realize there's a different guy in here now. And they got their doubts. They're keeping their distance. Don't quite trust me yet. Don't matter. As long as I got this armor. I'm one to be a dude, especially since Richard souped it up. As soon as that fight starts, I'll show him I'm Iron Man. The real Iron Man. James Rhodes is Iron Man. Now and forever. Yeah. Spider-Man jumps around the ship from one place to another. Iron Man says, "Huh? Spider-Man, you gone nuts, or what?" The Thing says, "Maybe just sort of flipped out." Hen. Spider-Man says, "Yahoo." Human Torch says, "Hey, watch where you're going, dog breath." Spider-Man says, "I've got my webs back." Human Torch says, "You fruitcake. Watch what you're doing." Spider-Man says, "I am. Ain't it wonderful?" Spider-Man shoot webs on Human Torch's face. Human Torch says, "No. Where'd you get this stuff? It's even harder to burn off than your old webbing, which won't keep me from frying your buns in a minute after I get it off." Spider-Man says, Naya. Captain America says, "Settle down, son." You too, Torch. Spider-Man says, "But I got webs again." Ever since you cannibalized my web shooters to repair Iron Man's armor read, I've felt like a one-armed man or a seven-legged spider. It's the costume. Somehow, it's got built-in web shooters. They fire when I think about it. That's not all. This suit does anything. Watch this. There. Short sleeves for summer. Mr. Fantastic says, I'd love to examine it in my lab sometime if there's sometime ever again, if I ever see my lab again. Listen to me. I sound like a defeatist. I apologize. You certainly seem chipper considering what we're about to face. Spider-Man says, yeah. Well, Reed, when I think about it, this whole trip boggles my mind. So I've given up pondering the imponderables. I have trouble understanding modern art. Who can figure all this ultra-cosmic stuff? I'm just taking it as it comes. Mr. Fantastic thought. And what about me? Can I simply take it as it comes? No, I can't help pondering the imponderables, searching for meaning in all this. I keep hearing the Beyonder's words echoing in my mind. The Beyonder says, I am from beyond. Slay your enemies, and all you desire shall be yours. Nothing you dream of is impossible for me to accomplish. At face value, the whole thing is absurd. Why would a being so far removed from us and so powerful as a Beyonder bring us across the universe for a stupid, simplistic good versus evil gladiatorial contest? Is he a mad god? A cosmic idiot? And why us? Why this odd collection of beings, mostly from Earth? And why Galactus? He doesn't fit. Human beings and even gods may be tempted, but Galactus is a force of nature, no more capable of having enemies in a hurricane or an earthquake. Why is he here? There must be more to this. But what possible purpose could there be? I think Galactus must be the key. Reed was lost in his thoughts. He didn't notice the power surging from the Galactus's machine, that he flew ship straight towards it. Captain America says, Reed, heads up, we've been hit. Mr. Fantastic says, I'm activating the auto-stabilizers in the retros, but we're too low. Captain America says, brace for crash landing. But before they could crash on the mountain, someone from below came in between them. He stopped the impact, and the ship safely landed without too much damage. Heroes get out of the ship and saw Colossus exhausted sitting nearby. Hulk says it's Colossus. He buffered our landing. Mr. Fantastic says, looks like he aggravated his injuries in the process. Colossus says, Nyet. No, I am all right. Captain America says, you're going to have to be all right, son. We'll need your strength. It's do or die now. Mr. Fantastic says, Galactus's machine is sending out power tendrils to rip the planet apart before reducing it to basic biospheric energy. Hulk says, one of those must have nicked our ship. We have only seconds before the world burn starts. Captain America says, let's go. They all run up on the mountain and join the battle. Colossus says that crater, from the explosion I saw on my way here, did the X-Men die there? I want to do nothing but search for them, yet I cannot. I must not, for the sake of the living. For Zaji, Thor throws his hammer to the defense drone, but it has no impact. Thor says, Ho, Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel says, careful with these defense drones. I think one of them blew up here before, after it was damaged. Iron Man getting past the drone shield, attacking directly at the drone. Iron Man says, now she tells me. Mr. Fantastic says, concentrate on avoiding them. Get past them and attack the world-devouring apparatus. Iron Man says, that's a cinch with my new radar and in-flight dodging computers. All right. Iron Man flew towards a planet-devouring machine, getting past the drones, and did some damage to the machine. Mr. Fantastic says, Iron Man got through. He damaged the machine. Incredible beyond belief. We have a chance. We can win. Wait. That's the answer. That's it. Captain America says, we got the advantage. Let's press it. Come on. The Thing says, I can't wait to get my mitts on that sucker. Mr. Fantastic says, no, stop. The Thing says, what? What do you mean, no stop? Mr. Fantastic says, Ben, we can't go through with this. At last I see a purpose here, a meaning to the universe for this insane conflict. We must not stop Galactus. Suddenly, a wave of strong force swept away all the heroes like a gnat. Thing says, Yow. Captain America says, a wave of sheer force. He's hurling us back like so many leaves in the wind. Come up ready, regroup, and renew the attack. All the heroes regroup once again. Human Torch says, all right, let's. Thing says, no, wait. Why don't you want us to fight, Reed? Spider-Man says, what? Mr. Fantastic says, can't you see that we've already damaged his machine? We've done the impossible. That means this fight isn't hopeless. We can win, which is precisely why we must not fight. We must let Galactus win. Captain America says, what are you talking about? You're not making sense, Reed. Mr. Fantastic says, I'm making perfect sense. For the first time, this whole thing makes some sense to me. I see a possible purpose in it. This is a chance to rid our universe of the threat of Galactus. All we have to do is let him win this contest. If the Beyonder indeed grants his wish, he'll be freed of his planet-consuming hunger at long last. Spider-Man says, and if the Beyonder reneges? Mr. Fantastic says, re-energized by consuming this world, Galactus will attack I Know It, and force the Beyonder to pay up, or be destroyed in the attempt any way you look at it. The universe wins. Countless billions who would have eventually fallen prey to Galactus will live in peace. Spider-Man says, yeah, but why us? Why were we picked to decide the fate of the universe? Mr. Fantastic says, why not us? We picked ourselves, remember? Besides, we beings of Earth seem to have a knack for being pivotal in the cosmic scheme of things. Thing says, Stretcho, you sure about this? Mr. Fantastic says, yes, Ben. Human Torch says, Reed, I'll do what you tell me. But, Thing says, Reed, he's vanishing. Mr. Fantastic. And the mountaintop vanished. Right before their eyes. Captain Marvel says, he's gone. And so's Galactus. And the whole darn mountaintop. Spider-Man says, now what, Cap? Captain America says, I don't know. But for once I'm open to suggestions. At that moment, several million miles from the surface of the battle planet, in the awesome solar system-sized construct that is the homeworld of Galactus, a mortal man, yet one unlike all others, gazes in wide-eyed wonder. Mr. Fantastic says it is beyond the capacity of human senses to report, and the mind to grasp. It pulses with life, with living splendor. Mountains, seas, forests, a world of inconceivable vistas of beauty, built, not created. I am overwhelmed. Galactus sits on the giant throne in front of Mr. Fantastic. Galactus says, welcome to my home, Reed Richards. Mr. Fantastic says, I am honored to be acknowledged by Galactus. Galactus says, would you like to view your home? Mr. Fantastic says, yes, I would, very much. Galactus says, there. Galactus shows Mr. Fantastic a view into his home, where pregnant Sue Storm in the kitchen, making coffee, with a little boy Franklin in the back. Mr. Fantastic says, Sue and little Franklin, I miss them. I see she hasn't had the baby yet. Galactus says, no, listen to me, Reed Richards, and think well on my words. Meanwhile, in a maximum security containment inside what was once his own fortress, Dr. Doom sits unmoving, as if turned to stone. Not long ago, he dared invade the homeworld of Galactus, seeking knowledge, power, opportunity, a way to conquer Galactus, and perhaps the Beyonder as well. But Galactus discovered him and expelled him harshly, reducing a once mighty figure to a tattered, charred ruin, or so it seemed, until now. Dr. Doom says, the world ship is away. Galactus's home itself is the way I seek. At last I see, I must be free. At once before opportunity evades my grasp. My armor's power is drained, thus they left it on me, also fearing, perhaps the many booby traps awaiting any who would dare attempt to remove it. But Doom is ever prepared. I need only activate my point singularity power supply, and again I wield power. Dr. Doom presses a button on Armor's ankle and blasted the prison's door open. Absorbing Man says, Doom, Doom, free us. Dr. Octopus says, Doom. Dr. Doom says, I have no use for you now. Save one. Claw, claw, mad master sound, being a living sound energy, whom I found in Galactus's home. You are the one I need. Dr. Doom freed Claw from the cage. Claw says, moi, tra-la-la-la-la. You narrate your life as you go along, don't you? Are you being taped? Dr. Doom says, why, yes. Every utterance of Doom must be recorded for posterity. Dr. Doom says, you yourself, Claw, are a recording of sorts, due to the time you spent as a wave of vibratory energy coursing to the walls of Galactus's homeworld. Come with me. Claw says, where to? Toodaloo, toodaloo. Dr. Doom says, to the lab, I'm going to dissect you. Claw says, oh good. Meanwhile, on the mountain, Colossus was trying to find the remains of their fellow X-Men. Colossus says, I will not give up hope until I find their bodies. If they are dead, there must be some evidence. I will search till I drop. Suddenly, a powerful optic blast came from underground, piercing the rock above. Colossus says, an optic blast. Cyclops, all the X-Men came from underground. Colossus says, you're alive. Alive. Rogue says, I reckon so. Colossus says, good. I was tired of digging. And Cyclops says, because of the enormous energy it apparently contained, we suspected that the fly swatter might explode when I blasted it. So Magneto pulled a thick layer of earth and stone over top of us for protection. Professor X says, the blast still very nearly killed us. Colossus says, and now? Professor X says, Captain America's people have returned to the village. We'll do the same. Soon, X-Men joined the Avengers on the village. Wasp says, so Zaji apparently saved me. I think it took a lot out of her, though. Spider-Woman says, amazing. Captain America says, looks like the X-Men survived after all. Spider-Man says, making another arrow Hawkeye. Hawkeye says, one last one with Galactus's name on it. Colossus says, Zaji, she has awakened. Thank the stars. Zaji came out her hut and runs straight to Colossus, which to Colossus seems heartfelt, but Zaji ran past him towards Human Torch. Zaji says, Johnny. Human Torch says, oh, Zaji, look, I'm kind of busy now. Later, huh? I'm just too worried about Reed to deal with anything else right now, okay? Thing says, she don't understand the words, kiddo, but I think she reads you. Captain America says, we could just stand ready until Galactus appears again. Hulk says, if he does, what if he decides to wait a few months? Time is nothing to him. Captain Marvel says, why don't we get some space-worthy vessels from Doom Base and mount an assault on his homeworld? Thing says, leasing up ladies and germs. Reed said not to fight Galactus, so we ain't gonna. And that's that. Right, Torch? Human Torch says, well, I guess, Ben, but, gee. Iron Man says, I ain't here to die sitting on my hands, Grim. Thing says, yeah? Well, I can arrange for you two. Mr. Fantastic have appeared there between them. Mr. Fantastic says, hello, everybody. Thing says, Reed. Stretch. What happened? Mr. Fantastic says, not much. We had tea. He told me that I was a force of the universe, just as he is. That I'm a universal champion of life, just as he is an instrument of death. And he showed me Sue and Franklin. Thing says, and the kid? Mr. Fantastic says, well, Sue hasn't delivered yet. She looked fine, but he didn't say much about the baby. Thing says, I don't know what that all adds up to, but whatever you say, we're with you, Stretcho, right, kid? Human Torch says, yeah, but Reed, I hope you. Thing says, he means, right? Mr. Fantastic says, thanks, Ben. Johnny, I don't know what to say. I'm more convinced than ever that it's right to let Galactus do what he must. And if I'm a champion of life, does it not make sense to allow Galactus to slay us so that countless billions will live? Or was he telling me that I must fight to preserve even these relatively few lives here? I just don't know. Thing says, one less orange monster ain't gonna matter much to the universe, Reed. Don't worry about championing my life. So, we ain't fighting, or at least not till Reed says so. Reed me? Hawkeye says, this is a real crock. We gotta fight. Quitters cowards. Thing says, Come here and say that. Ain't no heavy. Cosmic reason says I can't bust your head. Hawkeye says, why you? Human Torch says, hey, look, Galactus is back. It's starting again. Captain America says, all right, listen up. I'm going to fight. The rest of you come, or not as your conscience dictates. Hulk says, we're with you, Cap. Captain America says, good. But first, I just want to tell you, Professor Xavier, that despite our differences, you and your people did us in the universe. As far as I'm concerned, a great service earlier. Captain America shook hands with Professor X. Professor X says, it was an honor. Captain America says, I hope you, the X-Men, and Magneto will come and fight side by side with us now. No one here will deny you've earned that much. Professor X says, thank you. Hulk says, enough talk. Let's go. Moments later, at Doom Base, Dr. Doom witnessing all the events through large screens in the lab. Dr. Doom says, the battle against Galactus yet rages. Excellent. There is still time, and the Beyonder has opened his portal again. Perhaps to more closely observe what transpires, sensing the awesome significance of the next few moments. Perfect. But I must work quickly. The dissection must be completed, and my apparatus assembled in mere minutes. Claw lies on the table, his whole body in pieces. Claw says, Dr. Doom's dissecting room. Doom. Cutting doesn't hurt when you're made of solidified sound. It tingles. Ingles. May I speak poetry into your tape recorder, Doom? Bells by Poe. The tintinnabulations of the bells, and the ringing and the singing of the bells. Elsewhere, the Avengers and the X-Men attacked on Galactus. Thor says, onward. Spider-Man says, he's fighting us directly now. No more drones. I think that's a good sign. Again, a wave swept away all the heroes away. Spider-Woman says, on the other hand, Captain America says, maybe he is weakening, but he's still no pushover. Hulk says, neither is the Hulk. I'm getting sick of this. I'm going to smash him once and for all. Now, big man, you. Hulk stood up in between the wave that swept all the heroes and ran and jumps to attack on Galactus. But Galactus shoots Hulk midair with his eyes and sends him flying. Thor says, Hulk. Suddenly, Fantastic Four came to attack. Human Torch covers Galactus's whole body in flame. Mr. Fantastic says, Torch, before he can finish the Hulk. Hit him. Ben. Start to undercut the mountain. Sever the anchor rods, and probe one sunk into the rock from that machine. Thing says, consider him severed big brain. Thing started breaking the mountain from beneath. Mr. Fantastic says, Galactus used enormous amount of energy to transport his homeworld here, and I'm sure he hasn't fed for months. His power is almost depleted. We can take him. Captain America says, Richards, I'm glad you're here, but what made you change your mind? Mr. Fantastic says, I thought about what Galactus said, and I'm still not certain that, in the cosmic scheme of things, what we're doing is right. But I realize just how badly I want to see my baby born, Cap. I want that more than anything. And I'm going to fight for it. Iron Man, hit him head on. Your armor can withstand those ion beams he's projecting. Rogue, go in after him. Hit high, but watch for energy beams from his eyes. Spider-Man, get behind him, Ben. Thor, close in quickly. Hurry. Iron Man blasted his chest with his repulsors, and Rogue hit him high in the head. Galactus stumbled back, almost stepping on Spider-Man, but Spider-Man escapes before he gets crushed. Iron Man says, got him. Spider-Man says, yow. That was close. Thor, Cyclops, and Iron Man goes from the backside. Cyclops says, the way to his machine is clear. Iron Man says, let's trash it. Thor says, for glory, for victory. They attacked on the machine. Mr. Fantastic says, no, leave the machine alone. Get Galactus. Capture him. Disable him if you must. He must not escape. Iron Man says, wah. Mr. Fantastic says, hurry. Galactus escapes from there and flew straight towards his home ship. Mr. Fantastic says, too late. He's getting away. He's gone. We failed. Iron Man says, so what's the big deal, Reed? Hawkeye says, yeah, we trashed his machine and drove him off. We won, man. Mr. Fantastic says, no, we lost. Let me explain. Right about now, Galactus is entering his world ship. He'll probably take a moment to look around. His last look. You see, he doesn't need this machine to devour a world. It just makes the energy absorption far more efficient. Under the circumstances, I'm sure he'll make do without... I see it's beginning. He's devouring his own living world. Perhaps the greatest energy source in the universe. Moments after he's finished, this godforsaken planet will be next. We won't be able to stop him this time. Then he'll probably consume the sun, too. He'll want every iota of energy available in case he must do battle with the Beyonder. We're dead men. Energy beyond conceives in the void, and the sun seems dim by comparison. In the center of a nimbus of fundamental force, Galactus prepares to drink in the power cosmic, but at Doom Base, Dr. Doom says, Now, Claw. These lenses I've fashioned from your body so perfectly, singularly attuned to the energy of the world ship, will steal the power and draw here to Doom. Claw says, Doom, oom, oom, oom.